You know, it's always fun trying new things, and we live in a time where we can explore our ambitions much more than people could, you know, even 25, 30 years ago. And certainly 50 years ago, things move much more rapidly, and we have platforms that were just never available to people before. But at the same time, it's also easy to get in over your head, involved in something that you have no business being a part of, just because you think something sounds fun or interesting or profitable, okay? And so we have to beware of stepping over boundary lines and not staying in our lane. And you also want to maintain a spirit of ambition, right? At the same time, but we have to toe that line carefully. Over the years, I've known a number of people that I thought were quite interesting. They had a history that was unlike anybody else I'd ever met. And one of them is an individual that I worked with for a number of years, and he still works for the same company, but he works in a different department. He's kind of an odd, strange fellow. And some people like him, other people hate him. And I'll have to say, I'm glad I know him, because he's got some good stories. One, for example, is when him and his brother were just kids, they stole the fire engine and drove it around town. I won't tell you where that town is at. And people that I know personally watch this video, they're going to know exactly who I'm talking about. But they had the audacity to steal a fire truck and drive it around town. Now, when kids do things like this, they can outlive the reputation that they might have garnered from having done some exploit like that. They can outgrow it, because people can just go, well, they were kids. I'm not saying it makes it right or wrong. I'm just saying you can outlive that. When we're adults, it's a little bit harder, because we should know better, right? We have a conscience. We know the difference between right and wrong. We've weighed consequences, or have been able to at least. But I'll talk more about that in just a second. I found another story that was very similar to the one I just told you. In September 2014, a 9-year-old boy riding his bicycle past a Saskatoon, Saskatchewan transit yard noticed a city bus idling with no driver and its doors open. So he did what any 9-year-old boy would do. He got off his bike, got in the bus, and took it for a spin. 2 blocks later, he hit a parked car. He kept going. He tried to turn down another street, but clipped a stop sign, scraped another passing city bus, and then got lodged against a curb. A passerby had to pry the doors open to get the boy out, because although he'd figured out how to drive the bus, he couldn't figure out how to open the doors, which had closed automatically when he started to drive. And because it was a Saturday morning, the boy was still wearing his pajamas. Boy, wouldn't that be a sight. We see videos like this all the time, don't we? Whether it's on ridiculousness or they just go viral. You see them on Instagram, fail army, things like that. And they're fun to watch, but there's a fallout, because somebody has to take responsibility for the damage done when somebody didn't make their calculations correctly. We call this being too big for our britches, don't we? You ever known people like that? Just too big for their britches. They should have known that this journey they were embarking on really wasn't for them. They weren't cut out for it, at least not yet. They weren't ready for it, at least. In fact, you know they weren't, because they're still wearing their pajamas. All right? So, you know, when you think about doing something, ask yourself, is it really for you? Are you cut out for it? Is that your only option? How much do you know about what you're headed for? And if things should go wrong, what is the fallout? What is the consequences? Who would have to pay? I think this is what happens with people who get themselves into so much trouble that it actually becomes criminal. And then the family suffers, the workplace suffers, your income suffers. In fact, your whole future suffers if you find yourself behind bars. But you have to know your limitations. Clint Eastwood said that in the movie, didn't he? Was it a Dirty Harry movie? He said a man must know his limitations. Well, figure it out. Don't hijack a fire engine or a city bus, but you get it. These are metaphors for everything else in our life. And I know what it is to take on things above my pay grade. Not at work, but in other things. I thought I would be good at something. But as it turns out, my time didn't serve me well. I couldn't do some of the things that I needed to do to make things happen the way they should have gone down. And it's harder to get yourself out of something than it is to get yourself into something. Because at that point, you have some explaining to do. And there's this feeling of shame and regret and inadequacy. You see what I'm saying? I've taken on roles before where people had faith in me that I could do it because they'd seen something in me. But I should have known myself that I wasn't ready for them. I should have known. And that's without giving you too many clear examples of what I'm talking about personally, but I will tell you this one thing that I can actually discuss is I wanted to be a professional player, piano player. I auditioned at Busch Gardens and I auditioned at Disney World. And I didn't think I was ready. I was pretty good, but I wasn't ready for something like that. If you look at their piano players and see how they play, I didn't play the same way, but I felt like I was good enough to some degree, but not necessarily to be there. And people had heard me play say, you ought to go try out. You're good enough. And I was like, no, I just don't think so. And they kept bolstering me. They kept propping me up. And I found out real quick when I went and auditioned that I couldn't cut the mustard. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Now, there wasn't much regret or shame in that. A lot of people try out and can't make it. You know, I would rather have someone that I'm auditioning for tell me there in the process I'm not ready than to find myself in a park. I'm not able to fulfill the request. Right? How embarrassing would that be? That's why they have built-in buffers. We should have them in our own life and have something that tells us to stop or get better or learn more before we proceed or find something else. And you've got to be careful about the people in your life who are around you, propping you up, giving you a false sense of security and confidence, and a sense of your ability. Know where you stand, know what you can do, apply yourself appropriately, know when to walk away. That's all I've got to say for this one. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's spoken to you. Maybe it hasn't, but not all things apply to everybody. But leave your comments down below. I appreciate your patronage and your time, and I hope to catch you on the next one. And by the way, if you want to know what I have in my beard, all you have to do is look down in the comments section below, or the description rather, and see what I use. I'll offer you some codes there to save you some money, and you can get these products for yourself or for someone else as a gift. Okay? So consider that. And I appreciate it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and tap the notification bell. Be ever so grateful. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. In the meantime, be wise.